set?
Yep.
Good evening. Welcome to the March 28th, 2022 meeting of the Hubbard County Planning Commission and Board of Adjustment. I'm going to start out by reading the meeting procedures. All persons in attendance at Planning Commission Board of Adjustment meetings are expected to comply with the following meeting procedure. Thank you in advance for helping make this a manageable meeting. Copies of agenda item materials are available for public viewing on the table located at the back of the meeting room. These materials are not to leave the table, so others in attendance may also view them. Please turn phones to vibrate or off during the meeting and conduct any sidebar conversations outside the meeting room. Interruptions or other interference with the orderly conduct of the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment meeting will not be allowed. Defamatory or abusive remarks are always out of order. Disruptive persons will be removed from the meeting. The chair may terminate a speaker's privilege of address if, after being called to order, the speaker persists in improper conduct or remarks. Written materials concerning agenda items must be submitted to the Environmental Services Department by 3:30 on the Wednesday immediately prior to the meeting date. Written materials will not be accepted after this deadline or at the meeting because the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment will not have sufficient time to review them prior to the meeting. Such material must state the agenda item for which it is being submitted and the name and address of the submitting party. Planning Commission business is conducted first, followed by the Board of Adjustment business. The chair will call the meeting to order and explain the meeting procedure. The chair will read each agenda item into the record and ask applicant to come forward to the presenter's table, state his or her or their names, addresses, and for the record, and explain his or her request. The Planning Commission Board of Adjustment will then discuss the agenda item with the applicant. The chair will then ask for public comment on the agenda item. To facilitate an orderly, efficient meeting, there is a 3-minute speaking time limit per speaker per agenda item unless the chair allows the speaker additional time. The chair may terminate the speaker's privilege of address if, after being called to order, the speaker persists in improper conduct or remarks. When the chair recognizes a speaker, she or he may approach the audience podium and microphone, state his or her full name and address for the record, and write such on the speaker's log, and then share his or her comments. The audience podium microphone must be used by the recognized speaker because the meeting is recorded. A member of the public may not donate his or her speaking time to another speaker. A speaker should state his or her comments and address the issue, not the applicant. All comments are to be directed toward the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment. Please do not repeat comments already made by previous speakers. The chair reserves the right to ask a group with similar comments to appoint a spokesperson. If written comments have been submitted to the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment, please do not read them aloud during the meeting as they are already part of the record and copies thereof have been given to the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment. After anyone wanting to speak on an agenda item has done so, the chair will close public comment period on the agenda item. No further public comment will be taken after this point. The chair will give the applicant an opportunity to address issues raised during public comment. The Planning Commission Board of Adjustment will then continue its discussion on the agenda item, and the chair will entertain a motion on it. The Planning Commission Board of Adjustment may make a motion to pass, deny, or table the item. Once a motion is made and seconded, the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment will develop findings of fact for conditional use permit and variance applications, and then vote on the motion. Once a vote is taken on an agenda item, the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment will move on to the next item. Meetings commence at 6 p.m. and continue until all agenda items have been heard or until 10 p.m. No new agenda items shall be considered after 9:45 p.m. The Planning Commission Board of Adjustment may, at its discretion, continue an item that is on the floor at 10 p.m. Any remaining agenda items shall be continued to another date, time, preferably the immediately following Tuesday at 6 p.m., and no further public notice will be provided for such a meeting continuation. The Planning Commission Board of Adjustment, through the chair, may modify these procedures prior to a meeting or agenda item. We start with the Planning Commission. There's no minutes to approve this month, so we're no old business, so we'll move on to new business. A final plat application of Grand Pines by Potato Lake Land Company, part of government lots 1, 5, 6, and 33, Township 141, Range 33, Mantrap Township on Spider Lake, a recreational development lake. Parcels 20.33.00100. Applicant is proposing to subdivide 14.51 acres into 3 lots. Is someone here to represent this application?
Mr. Chair, Eric speaking. I received an email this afternoon from the applicant stating that he was not planning to be present this evening, so I think the board, or the commission, is appropriate to take action without any representation of the applicant.
Okay. With that, any comments, points that anyone on the board would like to bring up? This time I'll open for public comment. Hearing none, I'll close public comment.
Mr. Chair, this is Veronica speaking.
Go ahead.
I just have a question for Eric. Is the 10-foot easement shown on this plat currently? I know that which is supposed to be 20-foot utility easement.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 20, and that was communicated to the surveyor, and our hopes is when the Mylars are presented to the county board, we'll verify that they do show 20 feet.
Perfect.
Anyone ready to make a motion on this item?
Mr. Chair, I just have one more comment. Just as staff indicated that the final plat layout matched the preliminary plat layout, with the only adjustment necessary needed is this 20-foot easement. So I have no objections to this application.
Anyone else?
You ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion. Veronica?
This is Veronica. I make the motion that we recommend approval of the final plat application with the condition that the final plat be approved on the condition that the required 20-foot easement width is properly shown on the Mylars before it is signed and recorded.
Okay, we have a motion by Veronica. Do we have a second?
This is Mark, I'll second that.
We have a motion by Veronica, a second by Mark, to recommend to the county board to approve this with the condition that the 20-foot easement be shown on the Mylars before they are signed and recorded. Timothy, how do you vote?
This is Timothy, I vote aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
This is Mark, I vote aye.
Veronica, how do you vote?
Veronica, I vote aye.
This is Mike, I vote aye. The motion carries 4-0. We'll move on now to the Board of Adjustment. First, we have the approval of minutes for the February 28th, 2022 meeting. Does anyone have corrections or changes, additions?
Mr. Chair, this is Veronica. I just have one correction to page 3. Where I spoke, Andrea stated I would be open to a condition. We need to insert the word not. I would not be open to a condition is how it was.
Okay, any other corrections, additions, subtractions? With that, I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from February 28th, 2022 with the one correction noted that it should state, I would not be open to to a condition. And that's on page 3. Timothy, or that's a motion, do I have a second?
This is Mark, I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Timothy, how do you vote?
This is Timothy, I vote aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
This is Mark, I vote aye.
Veronica, how do you vote?
Veronica, I vote aye.
This is Mike, I vote aye, motion carries. Being no old business, we'll move on to new business. Variance application 3-V-22 by Mitch Rautio, government lots 1, 2, 3, and part of government lot 4, section 18, township 145, range 32, Farden Township, parcels 07.18.00100 and 07.18.00200 and 07.18.00300 and 07.18.00400. Applicant is requesting a variance from section 7 subdivision D3 of the subdivision ordinance to exceed the 1,320-foot maximum allowed cul-de-sac length for a road in a plot. And people representing this variance, please come forward. State your names and address for the record and then explain to the board what you're asking.
Hello, Board. I'm Mitch Rautio. Address is 270, no, I gotta think about that. 2980 is my address, County 29. And I am here for our variance application for a road greater than that distance. And
I'm Matt Murray from Murray Surveying, address 304 3rd Street, Bemidji. So as you indicated,
If you'll hold off, I'm gonna just add one thing for the record that Mitch's address is in Bemidji, Minnesota, just so that's noted in the record. Yep. Okay, go ahead, thank you.
as you indicated, we're proposing to incorporate a road that exceeds 1,320 feet in length. The limitation is that there's no way to configure a road that would loop out back to County 9 as a separate entrance due to the existence of wetland to the east and separate ownership to the north and west. So a loop type road has been configured that would allow a vehicle to kind of traverse the road without ever having to turn around. Additionally, this restriction is likely due to emergency services or potential access issues with the emergency. This property is very unique from the standpoint it has an airport runway that abuts the road, and so in the event of emergency, the runway could always be used for vehicle traffic from two different access points at the north end, and then basically taking the runway all the way back south to the building site where they could access east back onto the road, or I guess worst case scenario, if it was summer, something continue along the projection of the runway. This runway is maintained year-round, so it would be, accessible or usable year-round in the event of emergency.
Thank you. Questions, comments from the board? This time I'll open for public comment. Hearing none, closing public comment. And ask the board for questions or comments. This is Mike. One question that I would have is just to make sure from our tour that I understand correctly. On the drawings for the road on the north end where it shows call it the loop, it's a rectangular shaped loop. That road, when completed, will actually abut the runway or close to the runway, so the access to the runway in the case of an emergency would be at that location there. Are there other spots on the proposed road where there will be access to the runway?
Commissioner, is that?
Just
Mike.
board member.
Board member, okay. Board member Mike, yeah, as you stated, up at the loop where it states Outlaw B, there will be access to the runway at those points, two intersections that are running east and west. And otherwise, that north-south road that is on the east side of the runway will be close to it, but not on the runway. And then actually down at the south end of the runway, there's the existing taxiway onto the runway that could technically be used as well in an emergency situation like Matt had suggested.
Okay, and pointed out while we were there that being not at least wintertime and a tremendous amount of plowing needed, that in non-winter time, that is actually a hard service between the south end of the runway taxiway there and the county road that could be used for access if needed.
Yeah, you mean after, south of the tar?
Right.
So south of the tar is grass. So during the wintertime, that would be difficult to transverse that. But it would be easy I plow back to the driveway or back to the main road.
And that is a hard pack service, so summertime, a vehicle could easily navigate off the end of the runway, projecting and continue south all the way back out to County Road 9.
Yes, correct.
Other questions or comments from the board?
This is Mike. Just curious about the elevation, proposed elevation of the road up in that corner where it's gonna run parallel with the runway. You won't be at the elevation of the runway?
Nope, we will be lower than the elevation of the runway.
Any idea how much?
You know, off the top of my head, I do not.
Right now, it's about 8 feet.
I was just gonna say, I would speculate 7 to 10 feet, so I would say, yeah,
Okay.
somewhere in that range.
Okay, thank you.
This is Timothy. I have a question for Eric. I thought I read in your staff meeting or staff report, we are just voting on this variance for the road being longer than what the ordinance allows to a cul-de-sac. But we won't have anything to do on what stages he builds the road or anything. That's all up to him.
Correct, Eric speaking. The ordinance allows a developer of a plat to either create a public road, in which case there is a side profile spec in Appendix A to the ordinance that they would need to build it to before final plat approval, or if they don't want to do a public road, they are allowed a private road, which the only specifications are that it'd be a 66-foot right-of-way, that if there's a cul-de-sac, it'd be a 132-foot diameter circle, and then they have to create it as an outlot and convey an undivided interest in that outlot to the lots that are serviced by that road. But as far as what type of road is built, if any is built, that is entirely the developer's prerogative, or that of the parties that would purchase and build on the lots.
Okay, Timothy again speaking. So this little north-south, I'm assuming the surveyor did that loop up there, figuring it took care of our ordinance, so that little road, he won't even have to put that in the future, the one right along the runway. If he had them two roads that stubbed over to the runway from the main road, that north-south one won't even ever have to be built, huh?
Takeoff circle.
Right.
Yeah, Eric speaking, it wouldn't have to unless as a condition of any approval the board might entertain. You'd want that as a means of providing another way of getting it turned around and pointed back out.
Okay. I just thought of it because of the questioning that was being asked. I thought maybe there was a safety concern thinking about that and whether that road was even needed, you know, but it'd be up to him, the owner.
I could let the applicant speak to the why behind it. I've got
Oh.
my guess based on conversations we've had, but he'd be better able to speak to that for you.
Certainly. The why is, and as we call it, it's takeoff circle. Fun coming up with names. Takeoff circle was placed there to meet what we thought was the loop condition. So we wouldn't have the variance request originally. But for me, it actually will create a taxiway. So I'm not opposed to building it at all. It'll actually fit in nice for a taxiway.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, this is Veronica speaking. I had the same kind of comments that Tim had, more along the line of concerns. Having the road right next to the runway was a little bit like, but if it's a private road, I understand, and then the taxing as well. It kind of helps a little bit understand your reasoning there, so I appreciate the clarification.
Other questions or comments? Is anyone ready to entertain a motion?
Public comment.
Oh, already.
I did
already
public comment.
requested.
Oh.
There wasn't any.
Yeah.
Well, this is Mike. I'll make the motion that we approve. And I would like to place the condition that if any physical road construction is done within the proposed right-of-way, it complies with the Wetland Conservation Act.
Okay, this is Mark. I'll second your motion, Mike.
Okay, we have a motion by Mike, second by Mark, to approve with the condition that any physical construction be done within the right-of-way, it complies with the Wetland Conservation Act. Do we have any other comments or?
Adopt
Findings.
the findings?
Oh, and I recommend we adopt the staff's findings of fact. Timothy, how do you vote?
This is Timothy, I vote aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Mark, I vote aye.
Veronica, how do you vote?
Veronica, I vote aye.
This is Mike, I vote aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
Now move on to the exciting miscellaneous portion of our agenda.
Just a second here. Let me finish my notes a minute. Yeah, so Eric speaking, I don't have anything necessarily under miscellaneous, but moving on to the next item of communications as to what to anticipate for April, we will have one agenda item, which will be the accompanying preliminary plat to the variance application that you just took action on. That will be the sole item for April. So you can look forward to that. And then in May, we will likely have a conditional use permit amendment application on an existing resort, possibly another similar, same application on a second resort. And then we, May or June, I'm not sure yet, we've got another 7-lot plat that's gonna be coming forward up in the northeast part of the county, so those are things to look forward to in the next few months.
Okay. Anyone else?
It's Timothy, I thought I may have gotten notice from you. Is there a workshop coming up this spring of any kind?
None this spring that I've been made aware of. There's one in the fall that
Oh, it's
has
in the
been
fall? Okay.
noticed. There's a spring workshop for staff in May, but nothing for planning commission, boards of adjustment, or commissioners yet, so. As soon as, if and when I'd ever hear word that such was being offered, I'll definitely let you know, because they're fun and good info. And enough times past since we've last had one, that there's plenty of cases to use for illustration purposes.
Yeah,
That's all I've got.
thank you.
Anything else for the good of the order? I'll entertain a motion.
This is Veronica, I make a motion to adjourn.
This is Timothy. I second that motion.
I have a motion by Veronica and a second by Timothy
Second by
to
Tim.
adjourn. Timothy, how do you vote?
I vote aye to adjourn.
Mark, how do you vote?
This is Mark, I vote aye.
Veronica, how do you vote?
Veronica, I vote aye.
This is Mike, I vote aye, meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone. 25 minutes.
My goodness.
It was.
That's a record.